Hey guys, it's your host Julian. This week I'm sitting down with Donnie. He runs one of my favorite Instagram pages, the Disney History Channel. And if you're a fan of any era of Disney, this is an Instagram page you must follow. I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons that help support this podcast. Bill, Brent, Bryce, A-Legged Bird, Jacob, and Jordan. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means a lot. If you want to become a member of our Patreon channel to help support this show, follow the links below and sign up today. Now, let's get to that chat with Donnie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cartoon Chronicles podcast. I'm your host Julian. Today I'm joined by Donnie. Donnie, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably a first where I haven't pulled somebody that's an animator or a writer or anything or voice actor. It's an absolute like pleasure to have you because I told you before we record, I love your Instagram channel. It's Disney History Channel, excuse me. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to go just on a nostalgic bender, check it out on Instagram. Links will be in the description below for all audio and video formats. All you gotta do is point click and you're gonna go exactly where Donnie's putting up these amazing things. So before we dive into your Instagram channel, I want to take it way back, that metaphorical time machine, right? Metaphorical DeLorean. I love the zine you sent me about your entry to Disney. But if you can, give the fans what I read just in the audio form.
So with Disney in general, my dad kind of grew up near Orlando, like in Melbourne,
Mhm.
Florida, which is like 90 or so minutes away. So in the 70s, when Disney World opened, he would have been a teen. And so he went as a teen. And then so when my family would go on vacation, we would go to Disney World every other year or so. And so it just kind of started there. We had a couple Disney books around the house, and I just in my teens got interested in like studying the Disney history, reading books. And then when I was 20, I joined the Disney College program. Then I got to work there. The program I did was from like June 2003 to January 2004, and then I stayed for an extra year just to kind of keep doing it because it was so much
Mhm.
fun.
Oh, I can imagine the detail that you go into of like your how long does it cover? Is it like the whole span of what you sent me? This covers your whole time tenure at Disney?
No, that one is just kind of two kind of stories about it's kind of things that I kind of expected and
Mhm.
then kind of the reality of what they were like. So one of them is, like back in 2003, there wasn't a whole lot of like Disney online fan
Mhm.
community. So I didn't really know where to look to figure out what it was going to be like to work there. So I kind of assumed like, oh, I'm sure there's a way that you don't have to wait in line. Like we work here, why would we have
Yeah.
to wait in line? And no, that the reality is you do have to wait in line. So I was like, well, what can I do to come up with ways to not wait in line? So the first story in the zine kind of covers that, where it's like, what are these different scams that I can go to not have to wait in line? And then another thing when I went to like the presentation about it is they said, we have these buses and they'll take you anywhere you need to go. So from the apartment complex to the parks to your work location, all that stuff. And it works pretty well, except where I worked at Pleasure Island, I'm getting out of work at like 2:30 in
Yeah.
the morning and the bus isn't coming until like 3:15. So my options are like I can sit there and wait for 45 minutes for the bus to come, or I can do like the 3 mile walk back to the apartment complex. And where Vista Way, the apartment complex is located is just on the other side of I-4 from downtown Disney. So I eventually just started. Decided it's a lot faster for me just to run across I-4 at 2 in the morning than to do this big kind of horseshoe walk back to the apartment.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with Florida, I-4 is one of the most dangerous, and it's one of the most, this is not a PG-13 podcast, this is one of the most fucked up interstates I've been all over this world and I've been all over this country. I-4 has got to be, in Florida drivers, I mean, like I said, I'm a Floridian through and through, unfortunately. It's got to be some of the worst drivers. So I applaud you for taking that leap because nothing good happens after 1 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? And then you
Yeah,
cross an I-4 at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. You're just asking for something bad to happen. But it didn't happen because you're here, we're talking, and then you've got this beautiful Instagram channel, like I had mentioned. My favorite story from this, other than you opening up like Goodfellas, that whole inner monologue from Henry Hill, man. Bravo, by the way, like I said before we hit record, man. But I loved the scam of I can't remember how or the names you were using, but it was like one of your roommates would catch the attention of the guy at the ticket, and then you'd go behind him, try to break in, take your tickets and stuff like that. So it was a really cool peek behind the curtain, if you will, of getting to see how you can kind of game the system and how you can enjoy these rides as much as you possibly can. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, go to his Instagram page. Pick up the zine he's got. It is phenomenal. It's a fun read. A lot of humor in there. And I think it was like, what, 8, 10 pages, something like that. So something you can read 15, 20 minutes, man, but well worth it. Now, with that being said, you get to be into Disney because, your dad was 90 minutes away back in Melbourne, Florida. You're coming to the parks. You're seeing the movies. You got the books, man. Do you remember your first entry point as far as Disney goes? Was it a movie? Was it a book? If so, what was that movie or book?
The movie I think is definitely Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh, great movie.
Um, yeah, and we had it on like Betamax, just the Mr. Toad portion.
Mm,
And I feel like that has to be the one because I have a copy of The Wind in the Willows from 1985 that my aunt gave to me. That inside she wrote like an inscription about it being my favorite story. So
yeah.
3 years old, it was already Mr. Toad. And I mean, like, you can't see it, everyone listening, but I'm using a Mr. Toad cup right now. So that has to be the one.
Oh, that's a great entry point, man. Jungle Book for the longest time has always been my favorite movie. And I don't know if what so much was my entry point. When I was younger, I was born in '89, and right around that time of me being like a little bit more aware, right? So 90, 91, somewhere around there, my mom and my sister said that whenever I was having a temper tantrum, they would put on The Little Mermaid. And then it was something about the singing. Maybe it was the red hair, even though I didn't know what the color red was. There was something about the crab, the fish, Ariel essentially like would calm me down. So anytime like I was unconsolable, they would just pop me in the swing, pop me in front of Ariel, and then they say I would conk out or just be mesmerized by what was happening on the screen. But Jungle Book, man, favorite movie of all time. With that one being said, you said Mr. Toad's your go-to. That was probably your entry point, and that was your favorite story. Peeking back through, throughout your channel on Instagram, have you been surprised at anything you might have learned about the production of that movie for you? Does anything stick out?
I watch a lot of the Disney Family Album
Hmm.
videos. It's like a series that they did in the 80s where they talk to a lot of the Disney legends. And surprisingly, they bring up Mr. Toad and like a lot of them when they're talking to the animators. So I don't know if there's anything like I wish there was like a book that someone would write a book about the making of that because I feel like there's not a whole lot of Mr. Toad kind of information out there. But I was watching one today about Eric Larson and he
Hmm.
animated the scene where Toad is like acting as his own lawyer and just kind of discussing that like in this scene, Toad knows that he's innocent. He's being his own lawyer. He's very confident. So he was talking about how he animated in that way, like just being super confident. So I like kind of seeing those like behind the scenes where the animators kind of discuss their thought process for how they're going to like animate a certain scene. There's a real good one with Ollie Johnston where he's talking about the rescuers and he's talking about like the scene where Rufus and Penny, like where you first kind of meet those characters, and Penny picks up Rufus, and it's like in a way where like no one would hold a cat, where she's kind of like struggling to pick
Hmm.
him up. She's using her knee to lift him, and Rufus is kind of putting up with it. And you can see that like this cat really loves this girl and is super comfortable with her and doesn't really mind the fact that she's kind of just like bear hugging
Yeah.
him to walk around. And when you see Ollie kind of demonstrating it and then you see the animation and the character of Rufus like actually kind of looks like him, it really kind of makes that scene like so much better.
That it does. There's something special about that era of animation, and it's not like it's a knock on today's animation whatsoever. But when those guys were doing it, the nine old men for Disney, and all of those older animators, right, from the 30s and 40s, you got to think, man, 30 years maybe at that time, animation had been around. Early 1900s is when it starts, right? And then you've got World War I and World War II kicking off, and during World War II, they kind of had that upstart, the Disney. A lot of those guys went to war. A lot of them came back and were still animating for Disney. And then they start, essentially CalArts, they start the program with investing into their animators and teaching this and doing everything in-house to make their situation better. It's going to sound like an asshole of a question for me, but do you like to read? Do you like to read books and stuff like that?
I do like to read books. There's a whole bunch of them on the wall behind me that you can't see.
That's cool. Have you read I got it's somewhere around here. Have you read The Disney Revolt?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
dude, I'm so
one of my top books. Yeah.
Dude, I had the author on maybe last year, 2 years ago, something like that, Jake
Mm.
Friedman. And I treated his book like a serial killer since I highlighted, I'd post notes everywhere. And it was just really cool seeing him talk about, and I wish we would have went a little bit more in depth with the CalArts program and how much money and time they invested, where it was them just like OJT, on the job training, just training one another. You know, they would bring in still studies, they would bring in deer for Bambi, they were bringing in the Dalmatians and the dogs for 101 Dalmatians. It was just insane, the life drawing classes that they would do. And like I said, just pure draftsmen at that time. There's no social media, there's no internet, there's no bullshit. You know, they all had their stuff going on with the wars and the labor strikes and everything like that. But it was like it just seemed like they were very insulated in the profession that they chose to do. They wanted to be the best every single time out the gate, and it was just something special about that era of animation, especially within Disney. Now, it might seem like we're jumping around a little bit here, but I would love to know, how does the idea for your Instagram page kind of pop off? How do you know that this is something that you want to do?
Back in like the blogging days, I had like a blog that kind of would do like some kind of Disney stuff. So I'd already kind of known like a couple sort of Disney fan community kind of people. And my day job, I work for a nonprofit makerspace, kind of like
Mhm.
a gym, but with tools instead of workout equipment, you know? And so it's a lot of like all hands in kind of you have to do a lot of different jobs. And one of them is social media.
Mhm.
And we don't get a whole lot of traction there. So I was watching a lot of videos on like how to grow social media. And like we didn't have a TikTok. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll make a TikTok. And we didn't have that much stuff to post. So I was like, well, I should just start posting my own stuff just to get practice on like how to use this, all these different things. I already had Instagram and like I used TikTok to watch, but I was never making anything. So I started making videos that were just kind of Disney based, like maybe like some of like the rare like kind of merch I had or things like that. And then when I ran out of that stuff, I was like, Disney Plus is missing a whole lot of like back in the early 2000s, they would release these like metal box sets, Disney Treasure DVDs,
Mhm.
and almost none of that stuff is on Disney Plus. I was like, this is so weird because this stuff is so good, and it's like old episodes of like the Disneyland TV show or like Davy Crockett episodes. And so I started just like finding those, chopping them up, and posting them. And it's like people started liking it. I was like, well, this is actually fun because I like sharing this stuff and I know about this stuff. So I'll just keep doing it. And the TikTok algorithm just changes so much that after doing it for like a year, I had like 4,000 followers, which is like more than I had ever had on like anything before, but it just kind of stopped. So I was like, well, maybe I'll try Instagram, even though like everyone kind of says Instagram is like dead, right? So I
What
took
year was
everything that
this?
I
What year is
this
this
I
for Instagram?
started it Instagram, I started September 2023.
Okay.
And so I just took all that stuff that I had like learned from like how to grow like a Instagram or like a social media account, and just like threw all of that in there. And so like the first week I was posting like 2 videos a day just so if people found the site, then they would, see that it was active, not just some like new site where I wasn't posting. And I already kind of knew from posting on TikTok for a year, like these are the videos that did well over there. I'll start with those. And man, at the end of that week, I had 0 followers and a single view on one video. And I was like, maybe Instagram is dead. And so I didn't check it over the weekend. And then on like Monday, I had an email from Instagram and it was like, oh, you have 45 followers. And I thought, oh, hey, that's good. I can work with that. And are you familiar with Stacy from Must Do Disney?
No.
So, so as a Floridian, you probably don't stay at the resorts very often, right? So, from like 2005 to 2020, you stayed in a Disney resort. You turn on the TV, you see Stacy, and she is like showing you like the top things to do. And like you were saying, like you go to the site for like nostalgia. For like a lot of people, it's like when they go to Disney, it's like they just turn on the TV and they
Mhm.
watch Stacy. They go to bed watching Stacy. They love her or they like can't stand her. So I was like, well, now that I have like this tiny bit of traction with 45 people, I was like, I'll post a Stacy video because people have things to say about Stacy. And so I posted it and I didn't check my phone like while I was at work. And then I got out of work. And when I checked it, I had 6,000 followers. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I'm on to something. And then from there, it just kept growing. Very unbelievably just kept growing.
Have now, obviously, you can always tell when somebody really enjoys something just by how they talk about it, how they react, their facial expressions, it's just you can see that you thoroughly enjoy it, right? I see you smiling,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about these things that you grew up with or that you have a special place in your heart. I mean, that's the whole reason I do this podcast. I do this podcast because at some point in time I was parked in front of a TV or maybe there was just nothing to do. In Florida, it rains all the time. So there was plenty of summers where all I could do was just be parked in front of the TV and Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, the Disney Channel would be popping on, right? So that's the main reason I do the show is just because I want to connect with that childhood. When you get to a certain age, you kind of start to try to buy your childhood back. You know what I mean? Like, and I walk into
Yeah.
my office and I'll send you some pictures after we get off this, but it's just like I want everything surrounded me that I wanted as a kid, or I might not have been able to afford as a kid, or I just never got around to having, and I've slowly done that. And I think it's a sickness more than it is anything else. My Ninja Turtles here, my books there, my comics over here, you know what I mean? But when I enter the space, it's like I feel like a kid again. It's like that moment where you're talking about people turn on the TV to, connect with the Stacy. They look at it and they want to listen to it or they fall asleep to it. It's the same kind of concept, right? You're trying to get in that headspace of like the time before, bills started piling up or the time before your back started popping every time you stood up, shit like that, right?
Yeah.
A better and a nicer time to your body as a younger youth, right? And what I love about it, like I said, I saw your face light up when you were talking about the first video and the first time you got a huge explosion on followers and people really digging what you're doing. Like I said, man, you got some really cool shit. I love, especially I think it's like the last two or three videos you shared of Mary Blair. I'm such a huge fan of her. And it's like, I'm so glad there's people that know about her essentially. Because for the longest time, she was a very niche person, right? Not a lot of people knew Mary Blair's influence on Disney, especially in those younger years, those earlier years, excuse me. And then when you start looking and delving into something like Alice in Wonderland, and you see like, oh shit, this is just one big Mary Blair project, man. Um, not talking about Mr. Toad right now, but like, what were some of the other things that you might have like not known when you started delving deeper into Disney? Because I got to imagine you might pick a topic or you just go down a rabbit hole and trying to find some obscure stuff that somebody might not know about or you might not know about. But what's your process like when you're trying to find something new or something to talk about?
That's a good question. So I have, so from doing it on TikTok for a year, like I'm constantly editing video. And so I just have like a cloud drive with thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of videos, and they're all just sort of like by year and like what the name of like that particular episode is or who it's about or whatever. So on like a day-to-day basis, I might just like I don't do a whole lot of like I don't do like a week of planning. I
Mhm.
kind of look at like let's see what I posted this week because I don't want to post too many things about this subject or like oh I already posted like a behind the scenes of someone recording some dialogue. So maybe I'll go back to the parks today. So I'll kind of go through that. But even though I have all these videos, I'm still just always like, I need to find something else. So like today I was watching Eric Larson video,
Yeah.
chopping that up. Um, so luckily, since I do a whole lot of that, the algorithm on YouTube or wherever will kind of feed me stuff where it's like, oh, you might like this because a lot of stuff I find like some saint has like recorded, some 1980, episode of this off of TV and put it on YouTube. So then I just spend, all this time chopping it up into a whole bunch of different clips. What I really try to find is like that nostalgia thing. So I either want to try to like show them something that they haven't seen in a long time, maybe something that they saw but they forgot about. Like I love when someone comments that like, like core memory unlocked. Like I
Yeah.
love when that stuff kind of happens because even with me, I'm surprised because there are things that I watched as a kid that like I've never heard anyone else talk about. Like I really liked Lambert the Sheepish Lion. And I posted a clip from that recently, and so many comments. Like people were like, "Oh, I love this. Oh, I have a dog that I named Lambert because of this movie." So I'm always kind of surprised and like really excited when I post something that I think, "Oh, maybe no one will care about this," and then they like it just blows up because people do love it. So when I'm searching like that's just kind of what I'm looking for. Like I might have like all these things from like those Disney Treasure DVDs where I'm like, oh, I wonder if someone has uploaded this episode that was featured in that DVD. And then like when I click on that, like maybe YouTube will suggest other things. It's like, oh, I've never seen this Disneyland episode. So let me start watching that. So I'm just kind of constantly watching and clipping and saving and trying to remember, oh, I need to post this thing because this is really good. So that's kind of the workflow.
How much of the deep dives that you do whenever you get onto like one topic, right? That you might go down the rabbit hole and find out like, oh shit, I never knew this aspect. Does it happen quite often, or have you been doing it for so long and you've just filtered through so many hours of content from the Disney libraries that it's just like sometimes it's new and sometimes it's not. But do you ever get surprised about some of the stuff you find now?
Man, I was watching the Milt Call Disney Family album the other day, and I was real surprised to find out that after he retired, he just stopped drawing.
Really?
Like this is like the guy who's like the draftsman of the Nine Old
Yeah.
Men. And he was just kind of like, yeah, like if I'm not making a movie, why would I do it? Like he still did some, like he made this like wire art, which they don't really talk about in the episode, but yeah, he draws Medusa, but he's just like, yeah, why would I do it? You know, he's also kind of known as like the grump of the Nine Old Men, so it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. But yeah, I was like, wow, like I can't believe like you would have this crazy talent, and then when you retire, you're like, I'm done with it.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because there's so many people I'll talk to on the show. It's like they don't draw anymore for fun. Like now, it's just it's all about you're on a deadline, you're on a crunch. Oh, you got to go back and fix two parts of an episode, and you're still on the current episode. So a lot of people don't have that free extra time. I mean, when you retire, you got a whole bunch of time, but you've done it 40, 50 years at that point. I mean, what's another drawing for you? But it's crazy how every person that I've had on because I used to do a set of questions that I would have towards the end of the episodes. And it was always like a Mount Rushmore-esque of like your animators, if you're a background guy, your favorite background people, and vice versa, right? And one of the things that I was blown away by, I did it with books, like what's two books you'd always recommend and who's on your Mount Rushmore. The Illusions of Life always came up with every single person that's ever been an artist. That always comes up. Oh shit, Rick, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Dick Williams, Richard Williams, the director for that one is his survival guide. And then for Mount Rushmore, it was always Milt Call. When it was a creator, a storyboard artist, it didn't matter. Like Milt Call was always the guy that they brought up from the Disney Nine Old Men. Um, with your love for this topic, man, and I know we've had this talk, so I already know your answer. But who's your favorite of the Nine Old Men?
Mine is Ward Kimball.
Yeah.
That that episode for him, like if you have never seen that episode of the Disney Family album with Ward Kimball, I think it's the best one because all the other of the Nine Omen that they talk to, they're just kind of like, oh yeah, and then I animated this, and like it's great, it's interesting, but like with Ward, he's like, come look at these kinetic sculptures that I made, or
Yeah.
these crazy paintings that I made, where I'm like gluing June bugs to make this watermelon painting, or come down to my basement where I have my costumes, and here's my train room, and here's my actual train and my vintage cars and all this stuff. And it's like he just has so many kind of crazy things going on that it's just so fun to watch. And he just has such a great personality, and you can really see that in his animation.
He was playful, with
Yeah.
that. It was just, it seemed like it was so much more than a job. Like, it's like you hear people talk about it all the time when you want to get into the right mindset for doing something. It's not a have to do, I get to do. And it always felt like whenever you saw him, he always had a smile. He was always super stoked. It was just like, the personality that everybody like wants, right? It's like, oh man, I fucking get to do this. I get to go and work for Disney. I get to go and make people smile with the art I do. So, I like I told you before, I already knew your answer, and Mark Davis has always been my guy, man. It was just something about Cruella, and it was just like that character alone. I mean, it's just like how she moves in the space, how he works, and I loved how he always he always had what was it, a martini or a cigarette in his hand, a cigar in his hand. He just seemed like a real old school guy that would have some fantastic stories. You know what I mean? Ward Kimball's another guy that everybody brings up as well when it came to the Mount Rushmore people. Now,
Mark Davis is wild too, because like you think about Walt Disney, it's like, oh, this I have this guy, he's a great animator. Let me just pull him into Imagineering and see what he can do. And then he gives us like the stretching portraits and like a bunch of the jokes, and he makes the Jungle Cruise funny, and he designs all the country bears, and like just such a huge part of like all those classic attractions and all these classic characters. Like for Walt Disney to be able to just kind of pick people and like, I know that this guy is going to be good at this other thing too. Is insane.
Dude, a jack of all trades, man, and he was a master at a lot of them, dude, so it was wild seeing the versatility of the artist that Walt had, in his group. I mean, I know Walt knew what he had, right? Very rarely will you ever meet somebody that says like they really know what they have when it comes to their employees, man. But it was a special time for animation in the Walt Disney World, during that era. Now, with everything you've done, and I wanted to put a pin in Mary Blair because I wanted to come back to it after we had the Nine Old Men talk, man. But what's something about Mary? Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Mary. I love her artwork. Her art, you could pick her artwork out of anything. You could just see it like
Yeah.
that. That's Mary. She had such a distinct style. An interesting lady too. Some of the shit I've read about is just wild. But what were some of your favorite Mary Blair stories that you might have seen when you were doing some of the videos that you've done on Mary?
I think the my favorite one is how that 1941 trip to Latin America just
Hmm.
changed her entire style. So
Yeah,
if you look at when she was at Cal Arts or Chenard at the time, and her mentor there, Pruitt Carter, his stuff is like really awesome. It has this kind of storybook quality, like maybe you just like jumped into the middle of a scene and there's these characters, you just kind of have to, you can just kind of look at his painting, kind of figure out, oh, what's happening in here. It's like you joined it in the middle of something happening. And her early work kind of is similar to that, where it's like she's been inspired by him. This is her mentor, and she's kind of doing that same style. And then she gets married, and her husband Lee is a watercolor artist, does a lot of landscapes and stuff like that. And her style also kind of mimics that for a while. And she was working at the studio with her husband Lee, and then she quit because she really wasn't interested in doing animation. And then Lee one day said, "Oh, Walt Disney invited me to go to Latin America to work on these films." And she went to Walt and was like, "Hey, I want to go too." So he was like, "Okay, great." And then she was so inspired by everything that she saw there. It basically created the Mary Blair that we know now. And in the book, I think it's Magic Color Flare. Um, it has some of like her early stuff when they get to South America, and then like when she's getting inspired, and then when she becomes Mary Blair. And it's crazy just to see
the
that
progression.
transition. Yeah. So that's one thing I think is so great, is just going on this one trip just totally changed her entire art style and then became one of Walt Disney's favorite artists.
Oh man, it's hard not to love her work. Like I said, it's just such a distinct style. And like I said, it's just beautiful. I love color, and I think a lot of it has to do with because of Mary Blair. I mean, it was just so different for that era. I mean, there was a lot of, modern American, they were pushing, just art, towards that, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh shit. Um, Picasso. I just can't think of the, well, fuck it, it's gone. It might come back later. I just can't think of that
Yeah.
word. But they were really just pushing art and almost to obscurity. I guess that's what I was looking for. It was just this vibrant of colors. Nothing was symmetrical. Everything could be melded in. It just seemed like an acid trip at that time. You know what I mean? And it's just something special. Like I said, I love that. Now, something that I've always wanted to ask you that it just never seemed to pop up in my head, but some of the things that I've done for some of my Disney guests that I've had on, whether it's, a couple storyboard artists, a couple directors that I've had on, Disney's pretty litigious, so I have to be very careful when I put stuff up, man. So, what are some of the things that you might have run into whenever you set out to start doing a lot of the Disney stuff? Have you ever had any kickback from Disney? You ever had anything flagged?
Uh, uh, some like I'll get stuff flagged. So whenever I upload anything, it goes to Facebook and it goes
Hmm.
to Threads and it will go to Pinterest. Pinterest, if it has music in it, it automatically will be like copyright, we took it down, or it's muted. But I don't check Pinterest at all. It just kind of goes there. So I let it do that. But with Instagram, it's very, very rare that stuff gets taken down, or if it does, it always tells me that it's copyright, but that it's owned by Universal Music Group, which
Hmm.
obviously isn't right. Like Disney's music isn't part of Universal Music Group. So I think it might just be like a flaw in the algorithm where it just is like, oh, I hear this, it must belong to this other thing. But with that, I can fight it and I can say this is I'm doing this for educational purposes, but it takes them like a week to respond, and they always like reinstate the video, but by then I posted, like 7 to 10 other videos. So it just gets
Yeah.
buried. And so it never gets seen. So if I get that flag, I just take it down and post something else that day. But as far as Disney, they've never said anything to me. Like I've reached out to them before about like wanting to like do stuff. The Disney Family Museum has been very nice to me. Like they've sent me some books and they send me like their press releases when they have stuff going on. They'll kind of check in with me every once in a while. And speaking of Mary Blair, I'm going to the San Francisco next week to go see their Mary Blair exhibit.
Dude, that's so fucking cool, man. I'm so excited for you, dude.
Even like as exciting is I have a friend who is an animator at Pixar, so she's gonna let me go visit her at work.
Oh, that's so cool. Since we're talking in Disney and you just brought up Pixar, man, what's your favorite Pixar movie?
Man, that
Ratatouille. It's okay.
you go first, and I'll think
Ratat
about it.
Ratatouille, hands down, dude. It's my two favorites, Ratatouille, Incredibles, and then my favorite animated film of all time is The Iron Giant. Well, all three of those things have in common, Brad
Brad
fucking
Bird.
Bird.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah, Ratatouille.
I love Coco.
Oh, it's so good.
Monsters Inc. is really up there for me, and like Wally. I'd say those are probably my top three.
Top three. Now,
Yeah,
it's you ever seen the movie The Book of Life?
I don't think so. It sounds
Jorge
familiar, but I
Gutierrez.
don't. No.
Jorge Gutierrez is
Oh,
the
yeah, I know
director.
what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with it, but if I've seen it, it's been a very long time.
Oh man, check it back out, dude. This was like Coco before Coco. Is same kind
Yeah,
of story, dude, right? Dias de la Muerto. But I love the Book of Life, and it wasn't until and it's funny, dude. Every time like I've come around to a movie, it's because it's been one of my two littles, right? So we have a 16-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Huge spread in between, right? Just when we train the first one not to die, whenever we have to go up to the store, we have two little ones, and we got to retrain them again, right? And when our middle child Cooper, when he was man fucking probably 9 months old, he would I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the noise, maybe it was just the pictures and the color. But 101 Dalmatians, I just started watching a Disney movie one time, and I just popped on 101 Dalmatians. Like I haven't seen this in a long time. I had some reservations. There was quite a few people that I'd had on the podcast at that point that they pointed to 101 Dalmatians like that was the movie that made me want to be an animator, right? So I just pop it on, and then I'm looking over watching Cooper. And like I said, Cooper's probably 9 months old at the time, and he's just wide-eyed staring at it, right? And he's looking at all the dogs. And then I was like, oh. And then whenever he would have, like not so much a temper tantrum, but when he'd be like restless and stuff, I did the same thing to him that my
yeah.
mom did to me, but I just turned on
That's
101
your
Dalmatians, and he
his
just,
Little
yeah,
Mermaid.
that was his Little Mermaid, right? And he would just stop. Dude, I shit you not. Like the first, like I took 12 days off or 15 days off when he was born. And then I didn't take another stretch of that amount of time. But every single night we watched 101 Dalmatians at least once. I would go get in the shower. My wife would have them. She would go get in the shower, and I would just sit there and watch 101 Dalmatians. And I grew to love that movie so much. And a lot of it has to do with him and flash or not flash forward, but kind of flash forward to our daughter, right? She just started like getting into movies within like the last year, right? So she just turned 2, and I was always like, Coco is not as good as The Book of Life. The Book of Life is so much better, right? And I start watching. I've seen this movie no shit 2 times a day. I've been off for like the last 3 weeks in between my last job ending and me starting a new job. I'm getting ready to go run a diner, and I've watched Coco at least 2 times a day, every single day, because that's like their go-to movie. They love that one. They love Princess and the Frog, which I'm a huge fan of as well. But Coco makes me fucking cry every single time we watch it. It doesn't matter if it's the first time of the day or the second time of the day. Whenever they start singing "Remember Me" at the end when he's trying to get dude, it
That's what I was about to
fucking
say. No matter how many times you see that movie, it gets you every time.
every single time, dude. And it's just like, I don't know if it would have got me 15 years ago, but like I said, I'll be 36 in August. I've got two littles, and I want to be there as long as possible. I don't want them to forget. I want them to forget like the bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like dad having to be a mean dad or a bad dad, is taking things away or saying no, that type of shit. But it's just like for that split moment when I'm hearing him trying to get him to remember Papa Hector, and then she comes back around, dude, it hits me in the gut so hard, and I just look at them. I pick them up. I'm like, please remember me. Yeah, so I'm so glad you brought Coco up, man. It's just beautiful, beautiful movies, dude. It's like I haven't seen the latest. Oh, was it Elio? I haven't seen the
Yeah, I
latest
haven't
one
seen it
yet.
yet either.
I want to go see it so bad. All my kids want to go see it too. It's just like we're gonna probably try either tomorrow or Saturday. We're gonna try to go see it. Um, But Pixar, man, have you done? I know you're doing Disney, and I know it's an offshoot of Disney, but have you done much on Pixar? I don't see too much Pixar from you.
I mean, I would like to, but my problem is like when I get to those more kind of recent things, that's usually like when stuff will get flagged.
Yeah.
So the main like Pixar thing I've done is I posted like before they were making movies when they were doing like Tropicana commercials.
Hmm.
So I posted some of like their kind of pre-movie commercials. Maybe I'll try with some shorts and see how far I can get, or some like behind the scenes stuff and see. But if I post anything from the movies, I think they might get flagged just because the newer stuff, that's what happens.
Super guarded by it. Now,
Yeah.
this is something I always ask the people that come on my show, man, because I'm curious. Because me, I'm just a fan through and through. I don't work in the industry. I work in the. I'm a chef, right? I work in that style of industry. So it's like I can just sit back and relax and watch cartoons for what they are. I can watch animation for what it is, something to just like enjoy, something to abide by, something to share with people, right? Now, with you in particular and all the other artists on, like you guys have a vested interest in it. It's like it's somewhat of a job for you, right? So you come home, you make the videos, they go and they draw all these things to make these shows and movies that we talk about. Do you have a hard time like separating? Hey man, I might have to do a video on this thing that I'm watching. Can you watch it and enjoy it as a fan like you used to before you started making content, or does it always feel like you're looking for something to make next?
I feel like it inspires me more
Hmm.
to make stuff. So like so someone had commented or sent me an email saying like, "Will you post some stuff about Sleeping Beauty?" So I was like, "Sure, I got videos about Sleeping Beauty." And then posting those, I was like, "I should really rewatch Sleeping Beauty." And so I was rewatching it, and Ivan Earl, those backgrounds are some of the best that in any of those movies. And I was like, I should make a video that is just about those backgrounds. So I spent like an hour going back through the movie, trying to put together like, sub 2 minute clip of a bunch of backgrounds. And that's something where I'm like, I don't know, people are going to watch a minute and 40 seconds of this. And so I had to like, take out the music and put different music in. So it's not just like weird
Yeah.
clips of the music changing. And I used the music from like the opening scene that kind of just goes through all the music from the movie. And I was like, man, this works really well. And then I posted it and it did really well. People liked it, a lot of comments. And I watched it like 4 or 5 times. I was like, man, this is really a nice, soothing little video. So I feel like sometimes when I'm watching, it's like, oh, I can make a good video about this, or oh, I should see if I can find a behind the scenes of this part being made or this person doing it. But I feel like watching them just kind of inspires me to make other videos and not necessarily look at it as like, oh, I got to make another video.
Yeah, I got you. I'm glad you brought up that one because we were just talking about that one not too long ago through Instagram. I was asking you because they went back and they airbrushed a lot of it to make it a little bit
Yeah.
softer, which I was blown. Like when I saw that, I'm like, dude, you got to be fucking kidding, really? Like it's stunning the way it was, and then they wanted to soften it out so it didn't, scream off the screen. Like I said, I love backgrounds and I love that art style. So I'm one of those guys where I'll just sit there and pause something. I'm looking in the background for anything and everything. It started with this comic book, and ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the story. I know you guys have heard it 100 times, but it started with this comic book. It was called Chew, and it's from Image way back in the day. There was this detective, and this is in a time where chicken is outlawed, right? And there's this guy. He's a chibopath. His name is Tony Chew, and he can eat something, and then if like say the chef that was cooking it, right, cuts his finger and blood or sweat gets into it, into whatever he's cooking, he'll have like this like flashback of like, oh, this guy killed somebody 2 towns over. So he's solving, and the only thing that he doesn't get these flashbacks and get sick to his stomach whenever he eats something. I think it's been a long time since I've read this, but it's beets. But in the first couple panels, like he's working with another guy. There's another detective, and this other detective's an asshole. So he goes in there and he's, picking on this like 16-year-old kid that works at like a 7-Eleven, right? And he's just talking shit. And then the cops exit. And then you look in the background and then the little kid's back there flipping off the cop. And then you go, oh shit, I never really thought to look in the background. So that comic book made me look at the backgrounds. And it was like discovering these background artists to make me go, oh shit, this is beautiful too. It's not just about the characters, it's the world that they inhabit, that they're walking around and interacting with the environment. So when you posted that one made me go back and watch Sleeping Beauty. So I went back and watched it myself. And I haven't watched that one probably since, man, I'm probably 6 years old, give or take. So 30 years, maybe. We used to take the VHSs we had for all the Disney, we had all of them, right, growing up.
Yeah.
And we would stack them in buildings and we would make ramps for like our Matchbox cars while we were watching the Disney movies, man. So it it made me think about that with my younger brother and my older sister when we would just take all the DVD. And my older sister has all of the VHSs still, right? So we'll go over to her house and she's got the cabinet where they're all front facing, so you can see the discoloration because of the sun hitting them and shit like that, man. So your channel, it not only like makes me want to go and read more and look more, but also makes me want to revisit more of the things that I grew up with and so many of us grew up with. So man, I'm not a religious guy, man, but you're doing the Lord's work over at your Instagram channel.
I mean, I appreciate you saying that because that's kind of how I feel. Like, I love when people comment, they're like, well, I guess I got to watch this movie now. And I hadn't seen Sleeping Beauty in like years either. And then I'm watching it. I'm like, why do I know every word to this movie still?
Dude, it's wild, man. It's like you hear a song that you probably haven't heard of since you were in high school, right? But not only do you know every single word to it, you can remember like the first time you heard that, what was
Yeah.
around, the smell. Like that scene in Ratatouille is so fucking special, right? And I keep hitting on the scene for Ratatouille, so I apologize, but it's just like that moment where he tastes the Ratatouille and he's transported back in time where he's a little kid ego, scratches his knee up, he goes to his mom, he's crying, and his mom makes the Ratatouille, and that's what the whole makes the whole full circle moment for Ego, the food critic, and Ratatouille. But it's something about the sound, it's something about the smell, it's something about revisiting something, and then for that split moment, you feel like you're a kid again. It feels like you're going back in time for just that moment, and then you get snapped back to reality, man. So like I said, it was crazy watching Sleeping Beauty for the first time in 30 years and going, wow, this is just a beautiful movie. Get past the story and everything like that. Just like talking strictly about the art, it's just like this is special. And to know that this is when was Sleeping Beauty done?
59.
Dude, so fuck, dude, we're almost 70 years. We're 66 years, give or take, away from that. And then you see some of the stuff that's coming out now, and you're just like, dude, these guys couldn't compete. Some of these shows that are out now could not compete with the level of artists that they had.
Yeah, there's a scene in there where like Prince Philip is riding his horse and it's like a multi-plane camera shot where he's like going in and out of the different
Mhm.
backgrounds. I'm like I would have never picked up on that as like a kid. But watching it now, I'm like, oh my God, this is nuts.
What is, and this might be hard. You might not be able to think about it, and it might come to you after we get off the call. But maybe one of the most obscure pieces of history or facts that you might have learned, throughout doing all of this?
That's a good question. That's the hard thing for me is like I read a lot of books and like I can't just like pull something out of my brain usually,
Mhm.
but like when we're like talking, like the facts will come out. Like it gets triggered and I'm like, oh, I know this thing, I know this thing. But if it's like, tell me this thing, I can't always pull it out. But I mean, I going back to you talking about the Disney Revolt. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite books because when you read like a normal biography on like Walt Disney, you're going to hear about the strike, but only like a little bit of it. They're
Yeah.
like, we got to get through 66 years of a human being. So I like when a book is like niche down like that. So a book like that where you're learning more about like Art Babbitt and how he
Hmm.
was like really fighting for everyone and like he was like kind of hated by the studio after that, but then later made a Disney legend, but like how he was really fighting for people. And so I think kind of books like that are real niche down where you kind of get more facts. Like also, have you read 3 Years in Wonderland?
No, but I'm gonna write it down.
It's about the building of Disneyland,
Okay.
and Todd James Pierce he wrote that book, and that one like you read it and it doesn't feel it feels like you're reading a fiction book because it just reads so well and he has like so much information. So I feel like if you read that book, you will get so much information that you wouldn't get out of a normal book because he just does so much research and it feels just like you're reading a story, not just like a history book.
Oh,
So I don't,
well,
that doesn't really answer it, but like there's like some examples of like I like to kind of get into those things where it's more kind of niche down and you can really learn like more details than just like a biography that kind of goes over the same things and has like the same pictures and stuff like that.
well, that's beautiful because I got another book. I got another book that I just wrote down here, so I'll check that one out. Before I forget, as soon as we get off this call, remind me just connection. I want to connect you with somebody that I've had on my show. I think it'd be very fun for you as well. And one of the things that I love. Do you like reading when it comes with animation? Do you like reading things that aren't Disney?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite studios of all time is Jay Ward. Rocky
Yeah,
and
of
Bullwinkle,
course.
right? Have you read The Moose That Roars?
I read it like a long time ago. Like now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, I read that book. Where is it? Why don't I have it on my shelf? Yeah, Jay Ward. I love June Fourier. We share a birthday. I mean, I'm
Well, right.
not 100 years old, but yeah, like June Fourier, like so great. Yeah, I love those. I have all the Rocky and Bullwinkles on DVD. So
Oh,
yeah,
right on, man. Do you know I've got them? I haven't inked them up there yet, but they're right above Space Ghost. So my birthday's August 13th. Take a guess. I give you three guesses, and it's not a good person. But who do you think I share a birthday with?
that's not a good person.
He was not a good person. He's dead now.
Charles Manson.
Nope.
Is it an animated person or like a
No,
murderer?
no, that's an evil person. It's a pretty famous person too.
Hitler.
No, 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 no. He died on 420. I know that because
Mm,
anytime 420 comes up, I'm a big proponent on weed. But it's just like, yeah, you know, this is either his birthday or his death day. I can't remember which one. But you got one more. He was a dictator though.
Mussolini.
Nah, Fidel Castro, man. I share a
No.
birthday with one Fidel Castro. So, and I found that out on my 18th birthday, like such and such turns however old he was at the time in what was it, 2000 and fucking 8, 7, whatever, 17, yeah, 7, somewhere around there. But nonetheless, man, the things you know. Now you know a little fact. This weird fucking guy I talked to in Redhead, he shares a birthday with Fidel Castro. So no, but if you haven't read that one, man, that's like my favorite book within animation. Like, dude, anything I've read is just like looking through it and then finding out that this dude damn near got crushed by a truck. He got pinned to a wall, and then everything kind of changed, you know. And it just takes you through it. Like, you know, head trauma. He started coming up with the Rocky and Bullwinkles, the George of the Jungles, you know, the Captain Crunch. He covers the entire thing, and I've never read an animation book up until Jake's book, The Disney Revolt, where it's just like it took you through a whole span of time within the animation industry on one specific topic. You're like, oh my God, like you were saying, it felt fictitious. It felt like this was not real
Yeah.
at all. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to picking up 3 Years in Wonderland.
I also
Um,
love that Universal still has that Dudley Do-Right attraction. Like
yes.
it blows my mind because like Disney, like thinking of Disney creating a ride in like the year 2000 for like like a minor character from this show from like 50 years before, like, and it's still there. I'm like, I hope they never tear that ride down.
And then Brendan Fraser playing that character many
Yeah.
years later. It's just it's oh dude, it's that ride was like the first time I've ever been terrified on a ride. It's like 2007 or 8, I can't remember. It was like right before I graduated in 2008, and that was like our senior trip was
Oh,
to
nice.
Islands of Adventure, right? And I'm there, and I didn't want to do the ride because that was literally the first ride everybody wanted to do. And it's not so much summertime. It's, you know, it's late spring and stuff. So it's nice and cool, but it's nice and warm too by the end of the day. I just did not want to be soaking wet for the rest of the day, right? And I found out like everybody wanted to do it. I'm like, all right, fuck. So peer pressure works on me, right? So we get up to the top, and I see that it's like you have to get into this log, and there's bars on the inside. I think they've changed this ride since then. I think they've actually put lap bars down. But I remember sitting this. I'm like, where are the fucking seatbelts? And they're like, oh, they don't have seatbelts in this. The gravity will keep you down. And I was like, I've seen how this ends. How the fuck is it going to keep me down? Right. So I'm sitting in there, and I'm shaking like the entire time. And the girl that was sitting behind me was the girl I was trying to impress all through high school, right? And I'm just sitting there like, oh, don't shit your pants. Don't fucking scream like a girl. Just man up. Just get through this. And as soon as we start going down, your ass comes out of that seat just a little bit. And you go into it, ladies and gentlemen, you go into a shed, and it legitimately feels like you're going to be decapitated through this. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm screaming like a girl the entire way down. And I look back, and she's like, do you have fun? I was like, I don't know. My heart did not stop, like trying to come out of my chest for a solid 30 minutes. I don't think I've done that ride since. I think it's been almost 20 years since I've done that ride, man. But yeah, terrifying ride and super obscure character. And I love how they keep that theme throughout there, that old school cartoons. It feels like, you know, the 30s and 40s with the Betty Boop-esque characters and, you know, like I said, Dudley Do Right. And, you know, so fascinating
Yeah,
pull
it's
too,
got
man.
Snidely Whiplash's Marigold suit is like on that
Hmm.
ride. And I'm like, how many people are riding this and even like understand like what this one random set piece is? Like it
One
has
out of
to
a
be
hundred.
almost, yeah.
If you're lucky. Another park that was it was fun. They've since pulled it out of Islands of Adventure and they put it in Epic Universe now. But it used to be the Universal Monsters, and I'm a huge Frankenstein. I love that out of all the
Yeah.
Universal monster movies, you know. And that was another one where they kind of had like this little area, and you could walk into the Monster Cafe. Horrible food, don't get me wrong. I don't know what it's like now with the new park, and because they've got a new land centered around the Universal Monsters. But back when
Yeah.
I was going to it as a youth and even as a about a decade ago, bad food. But you could go in there and you could see like the castings for all of the visual effects. So like all of the costumes. You saw the Frankenstein molds, you saw the scripts, you saw people's stuff from the set and from the movie. So it was just a fascinating time and same concept, dude. I would see people in there going, "What's that?" And I'm like, dude, that's the Wolf Man, dude. What do you mean, what's that? Like that's Frankenstein's monster, right? That's the Bride of Frankenstein, dude. That's Don Jane right there. Like he did that right there, you know. So it's
That's
crazy
Katie and
seeing.
Anna from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, you know, it's just wild to see, you know, what they've littered, and I don't mean littered in a bad way, but just like I guess peppered is a better word, peppered throughout all of the places within Disney as well as Universal Studios with some of the stuff that like made them millions back in the day. Now, as we start to wind down, man, uh, with you doing this channel, man, do you see yourself doing like I know we talked Pixar and you said it's kind of hard to do a little Pixar stuff because the newer stuff probably get flagged. But do you see yourself branching out and doing maybe a different style of channel as well that you like this? Maybe it's a different network.
I set up a like DisneyHistoryChannel.com. Like I
Hmm.
own that now, and I put the zine on there. So if anyone wants to read the zine, you can go to DisneyHistoryChannel.com and read it for free. Because the one thing that about Instagram is that when I'm writing the captions, if I want it to also go to threads, it has to be kind of short. So I have to figure out how can I get the most information with the fewest amount of words. And sometimes if as you probably know, people don't ever read the caption. Like
Nope.
I have this video, like the most viewed video I have is Eartha Kitt recording vocals
Oh,
for Yzma.
yeah.
And in there, I talk about her career, and it's not very long. And I mentioned Santa Baby, and half of the comments on there are like, "I bet you didn't know she sang Santa Baby." I'm like, "I did because I put it in the caption. If you would read it." So I would like to be able to, and like sometimes like I have a lot of kind of old like Disneyland paraphernalia, like souvenir books and things like that that I've scanned. And the size of those just doesn't really fit to put on Instagram. Like I've got an original of like the uh, kind of playbill that was handed out when you would go see Fantasia, like at
Mhm.
Radio City Music Hall. And it's just not a good size. It won't fit on Instagram. So I was like, well, I could scan that and kind of write a more long form kind of piece on there. So that's kind of my next step is I'm going to try to start putting more stuff on the website.
What about Substack or Patreon? You ever thought about anything like that? Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I mean, the zine for me felt really good about like, let me see if I can write
Mhm.
something that will be entertaining. And like, I wasn't really like, will people care about this? Like, because I feel kind of disconnected from the Disney History Channel because it's not about me. So to make people be like, hey, do you want to read this thing about me? And a friend of mine who I went to the program with, like, their kids were reading it. She's like, oh, my kids keep reading your scene. And I was like, that's kind of funny. So I started working on a second one that is more kind of stories about Tower of Terror. Um, I had a friend who we used to pull this like seatbelt scam, where like you pull the seatbelt all the way out, you buckle it in, then you kind of hold onto the slack so you can fly out of the seat. One of my friends wrote it without the seatbelt on. He
Fuck
got
that.
out of the seatbelt, he grabbed onto the ceiling and pulled himself up and wrote it like just dropping with no seatbelt on. And so I was like, well, I've got two stories that are pretty fun about the Tower of Terror that both feature like these kids' dads. So I was like, it'll be good if I write this and at least these kids will read it and it'll be fun. So I've been working on that and kind of working more on like kind of the art stuff for it. So once I get around to finishing that, then I'll put that on the site. And then I've looked into Substack because that could be kind of an easy way to just like kind of force people to read it. Like, hey, you can read this thing that I wrote without having to be like go do this extra step of going to
Mhm.
this website to read it. So I'm definitely going to start looking into that stuff too. Do you do Patreon too, right?
Yeah, I do Patreon. It's very small. I mean, I think we've got maybe like 28 members, give or take, you know. And thank you, by the way, if you go want to look up the Patreon channel, man. All these episodes early and ad free, and then always get a couple other perks that we're working on, man. It's been a little hectic this year trying to do anything extra. But we are trending that way, man. But I was going to say Patreon is another thing you could do, and you can kind of not I don't want to say so much circumvent getting flagged or anything like that because YouTube's pretty harsh, man. That we've done a couple of the retrospective videos, and those are coming back, ladies and gentlemen, where we've fucking spent weeks doing one video, one 10-minute video, and then we put it up there. It'll get past the what is it, the algorithm essentially. Like it'll get pushed through, no issues whatsoever, because our YouTube channel is monetized. And within the first day, it's flagged, and it's just like now you're not doing. I was like, dude, this literally took a week to write this script, and it took my buddy Larry a week to do all of the editing, and then it took another 2 weeks to do all of the finishing on it. And it was just like within 30 minutes of it being up there, it's just like getting struck. And I'm like, shit, I can't take too many strikes on this because your channel gets taken, so
Yeah.
Patreon is a better way where you can do a little bit longer format. You can use longer clips so you don't have to like cut and then try to fill in that void with a whole bunch of things. So, and I've noticed like a lot of people like supporting people that go out there and make content like yourself, man. So whenever you get the Patreon up, if you want to do that, man, let me know and we'll send the bat signal out, put a link up there, man. Because like I said, I love your page. Whenever I'm having a shitty day, I just pop on Instagram, which I try not to do because social media is such it can be used like anything, right? Anything can be used as a tool, right? But so many times I'll just see myself scrolling, watching people do stupid shit, But whenever your channel pops up, or the other guy I told you about that does the music, Core 64, it's like it's always just fun. It always like gives me a break from the monotony of the day or the shit that went on, an argument with this person, a shitty day at work. We're here, It just for that brief minute and a half, 2 minutes, however long that video might be, I get to decompress and learn something new. And then, like I said, I get to go watch Sleeping Beauty, movie I haven't seen in 30 fucking years, So like I said, man, I really enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. I implore you to go and check out Donnie's channel. Um, as we wind down, man. Out of all of the things that you've done for Disney, man, does one of your videos, one of your content stick out to you as you're the most proud of?
I like the ones where I get to do a little bit more editing because like that's part of it. Like I said, feeling like disconnected. It's like I don't make this. I feel like kind of more like a museum curator.
Mhm.
Like I get to look at all this stuff and find the things that, like you said, will be like nostalgic and make people want to watch something else. And so it is kind of like it feels like a part-time job, but I really like it because I'm like, man, I get real excited when I find something that's like really fun. Like that Eartha Kitt one, I think is one of my favorites, and it's from the Sweatbox. Have you
Oh, it's
seen
such
that
a great
documentary? Yeah,
yes, 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 yes.
yeah. So for that, I'm like, a lot of people like I don't. I'm always surprised like by the comments because sometimes people will leave comments. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that thing, or like you never really know where people are at in their like they're following this page, but how much Disney history knowledge do they have? Maybe they know more than me. Maybe they don't know anything. So being able to find something that people haven't seen, and that Eartha Kitt one is like one of my favorites because she's just like so animated, and like the headphones fall off, and she's laughing, and you can hear like the crew laughing, and another one that I really like is there's a video of Roger Miller and he's playing Whistle Stop live, like the song from Robin Hood.
Mhm.
Um, and that one I found and I was like, oh, this is really fun. I wonder if people will like this. And so many of the comments are like, this is my ringtone. I've had this as my ringtone forever. Like, and so many people, it's like the second I heard this, like it was a core memory. And so that's like I said, like what I'm always striving to do is like get people to just like remember this time when they were a kid. And so when I can get those, and I think that Roger Miller one and that Eartha Kitt one are like really great examples of that, where like people see it and they just get so excited. And like I don't know, like the fan base of Emperor's New Groove, and it has a huge one because that one has
That
so many
does.
comments, and people are like, "This is the most underappreciated Disney movie." And I'm like, I agree.
It
It's
is.
so funny and it's so good, and it's great to find other people who feel the same way.
Dude, it was a movie that I can put it on anytime. It doesn't matter what part. Like if I'm skimming through and not so much now because it's like everything is streaming now, so you're not channel surfing, so
Yeah.
you're not catching a movie in between a commercial of something else you're watching, but I will always, always, always put on Emperor's New Groove, dude. It is one of the most underrated, one of the most funny movies. It's of the last 25 years worth of Disney movies, it's probably the funniest Disney movie that they put out. And the fact that, you go and watch the Sweatbox, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's hard to find. You kind of got to watch it in pieces now because anytime a full length of that documentary goes through, because Disney didn't want that out. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be something completely different, ladies and gentlemen. It was supposed to be more like Pocahontas. It wasn't the movie that we have now. There's a lot of shit, with the exception of I think David Spade and I think Eartha Kitt was the Eartha. She was the
Hmm.
entire. Those were the two voice actors that I think everybody else kind of shifted. Maybe Warburton was involved in the beginning. I can't remember. It's been a little while.
Owen Wilson
Um,
was in it for a while.
yeah, so he was supposed to play Pacha, wasn't he? Or was that always John
Yeah.
Goodman? Okay, yeah.
I think it's Pacha.
So it was one of those things where it was just like a complete change, and then they released the movie in a time that they typically don't release Disney movies. It's always seemed like they tried to bury it. They never threw any money behind it when it came to any kind of advertisement, which was so weird for a Disney movie. And like I said, it's just a fantastic. The movie doesn't matter how many times I've seen it; it makes me laugh every single time. Wrong Lever is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
The whole spinach puffs and coffee. It's just anytime Kronk is on the screen with Yzma, it's just I'm gonna laugh. And of course, John Goodman, dude, he's everybody's dad. He's in
Yeah.
every generation. John Goodman from Roseanne to Pacha to Sully, and even in my later years, I'm watching The Righteous Gemstones with my wife. So
Oh my
he's
God. Yeah.
Eli in this one, you know what I mean? So it's just like he just keeps getting better and better and better with time, man. Um,
I
like
think the entire Sweatbox documentary, you can watch it on Internet Archive.
Oh, Internet Archive, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll look for that link and then we'll pop that in the description below. So if you guys want to check that out, that way you don't have to search. I know when I had to watch it a few years back, when I had a couple guys on from Emperor's New Groove, I had to like watch part one, go find part two, and then you
Yeah.
had part five, six, and seven were almost impossible to find. You know what I mean? So it was a challenge, man. But like I said, well worth the watch. Well, Donnie, like I said, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, dude. I really look forward to seeing what you do next. Hopefully. I know you said you want to do it more about Disney and not so much about yourself. I enjoyed the zine you sent me, dude. Like I said, from the first sentence when I was like, "Yeah, Goodfellas here." Like the humor, you're really good. Like the writing was very good. It was humor was there, and then like I didn't realize like I was at the end of the story until I was at the end of the story. So it's a mark of a good book. Like it's just like you can just page. Like, fuck, this was it. I was like, where's the next page? Where's the next chapter? So I'm looking forward to number two, man. Where can the
I'm so
fans
glad
go
you liked.
and
Oh,
oh no, no,
I
go
was
ahead,
going to
go
say,
ahead, go ahead.
I'm so glad you like that Goodfellas part because when I was writing it, I was like, okay, so I'm going to make this zine that is like a copy of like a Tales from the Crypt comic book, but it's about stories from when I was at Disney. And then I'm going to start it with this homage to Goodfellas, um, which I guess we should kind of explain that part. It's like the beginning of Goodfellas, where he's like, as far back as I can remember, I wanted
Yes.
to be a gangster. And so in mine, it says, as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a cast member. And I took that whole kind of first Henry Hill little monologue and inserted Disney things. And then after I kind of wrote the other two stories, I was like, I feel like this kind of fits because that Goodfellas part has this kind of bravado of like, yeah, I'm doing all these things. I'm important. My mom doesn't have to wait in line at the grocery store for fresh bread. And then it's like the other two stores are like, oh man, I got to Disney and like I have to wait in line for rides and I got to run across the freeway. So I feel like it kind of fit with being like the expectation versus the reality of what it was like. So I really appreciate the things that you said about it too.
Oh no, no, man. Like I said, I laughed. I laughed out loud quite a few times. Now, I know we were wrapping up, but I got to ask you one more question about this. Like I said, Goodfellas. It used to be. I took 4 years of Italian in high school, so I didn't have to watch The Godfather in subtitles. That was the only reason I took Italian. I wanted to be able to watch the greatest at that time when I'm 16, 17 years old, the greatest mob movie, and then I see Goodfellas, and I'm like, oh my God, this might surpass The Godfather as far as the greatest mob movie of all time. When does that come into the picture? Like, I want to pay homage to Goodfellas. Were you watching it? Did you see it a couple days prior when you set out to write this little zine? Like, how does that whole thing unfold?
There's an AFI video from the 90s. I
Man, I
think
haven't
it's for the
heard that name in
song.
a while.
It's for
Core
the song
memory.
"He Who Laughs Last." I think it's on "Very Proud of You," and that one starts with Davey Havok going, "As far back as I can remember, I wanted to be in a hardcore band." I think that just stuck out in my brain as like, oh, you know what? That's pretty funny to change that line from Goodfellas to make it about a thing you wanted to do. And then yeah, like I started kind of like writing down my memories of the college program because I was like a few years after it, I was like, oh, I'm really forgetting some of these things. And this was a real fun time. So I would just kind of like just get on my computer when I had time and kind of write out like quick kind of just free thinking the things that I remembered. And then so when I was doing the zine, I was trying to think of some stories to do. And so I was like, oh, how to get fast passes for free. That's kind of interesting. And then let me do something that's not as like, a listicle kind of thing about running across the freeway. And then I was like, that Goodfellas thing that I thought about a long time ago. I, I want at first I was just going to start it with that, and then I was like, I should just do the whole monologue.
Yeah.
And so that's how it came to be. Thank
Oh,
you,
I
Davey Havoc.
Oh, that's so dope. Thank you for sharing that, man. Now, as we usually do when we wrap up, man, where can the folks go and find you if they want to search you out on the old Instagrams?
Instagram, Disney History Channel. It's Disney History Channel, pretty much everything. So Instagram, you can follow it on Facebook. Everything gets updated to there. I post on Threads. Like the stuff mostly gets posted to Threads. And then if you want to hear me rant about other things, like it's on Threads. But yeah, and if you want to read the zine, it's at DisneyHistoryChannel.com and it's free on there, and you can read that whole Goodfellas part.
Ladies and gentlemen, you won't be disappointed in the Instagram page or that zine, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to see what you're working on, man. Well, that's been Donnie. I've been Julian. This has been the Cartoon Chronicles podcast, and this has been another fuck that one up. This has been another piece of your childhood. Good night.